Thank you for joining me and having this discussion. I really appreciate it. How are you doing today?
Good. Thanks for filming me.
It was my pleasure. I'd like to start this discussion by just asking you how do you think the lesson went?
I think overall it went pretty well. We're launching into this new project that I've done, I think, twice in the past, and it's always one of my favorite for the year, the Influential Individual Project. And I think it's tricky a little bit with the first lesson because you're doing kind of the big picture. What is an influential individual? Who might you want to do your project on? And then we zoom into what does the word can mean? What does the word have mean? How do we use those in using modal verbs? So it's a bit of an interesting lesson because I feel like it's very big picture and then very, very micro into grammar at the same time. But also that's kind of what ESL is all about. And I think it makes the grammar more interesting and makes more sense to the students when you tie it into like how they're actually going to use it. So I think teaching like should, must, can, either when we're doing speech writing or the influential individual project has proven to work pretty well.
Nice. Yeah, I'm really looking
Yep.
forward to seeing the results of this project with your students. They look like they're having a good time. What were some of the positives that came out of this lesson, do you think?
I think one thing is that the classroom culture is pretty good with this group, and they feel very comfortable getting cold called to read, and help out, keeping the lesson moving forward. And so I don't feel like I'm the only one talking the whole time. But that being said, I think that, I'm positive, sorry. We're already getting into the what could I have done better. So other positives, I think also, again, students kind of getting to bring in their own background knowledge of people they think are important and influential. And they'll get to kind of focus on a person of their choice throughout the whole project. And I think that's another really positive part of the whole project and, launching with this lesson.
I agree, and that actually really that well aligns with our LHS goals, right? Of giving students more choice, of allowing them their own voice in these types of projects. So I 100% agree. You were getting into the next question. Is there an area that you felt that there was some room for growth?
Yeah, again, so the students definitely all felt comfortable sharing, but I wish that I had them kind of go back and forth a bit more and maybe were like, oh, have you heard of Frederick Douglass? And kind of get them to interact more with each other. But it's also the first period and they're kind of sleepy in the morning. And so I try not to put them on the spot too much with kind of responding to each other. But I think this is an ESL 3 class. Most of the kids are above, 3 on the WIDA scale out of 6, and they should be able to ask each other clarifying questions and, kind of engage more. So I think in the future, I'd try to kind of give more opportunities for that, interaction and trying to genuinely ask questions about each other's influential individual. But we'll do that also in a few lessons. It's like, got that coming. But I think now, like looking back on it, I could have found a way to work that into this first lesson as well.
Yeah, no, I do think you did a really good job establishing that positive culture where students were not afraid to speak. But what I hear you saying is that you wish that you had seen more students conversing with each other. Did you? Is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you. Did you see a moment, or can you envision a moment in that lesson or in a new lesson where you could help students have those conversations with each other, perhaps about their influential figures, and knowing that it is early and that it is going to take maybe a little bit more prodding than it would your second or third period class?
Um, yeah. So I think again in this lesson there was so much jam packed, trying to like go over what the project is going to be, and then getting into modal verbs that even thinking about it, I don't know if I would have included it in this lesson in the future, but thinking about the lesson I have upcoming where I want them to kind of create a master list of all the influential individuals. So that again, if they've picked someone they think they want to do their project on, but then we go over this master list and they're like, I forgot, I'm obsessed with that person. Let me do that one instead. Kind of get that opportunity. And again, kids are from a lot of different cultures, but we have a lot of Dominican students. And so I think, again, when I've done this project in the past, it's been a kind of nice moment of like, oh, you know that person, I know that person too. Like my grandma's obsessed with them. And it kind of creates Some nice opportunities also for me to learn about famous people that I might not have heard about, being from America and not as exposed to Dominican history. So I think in the future, when we go over that master list, maybe making it a little like more open to the students, just kind of discussing, oh, who from this list have you, heard about before, and letting them just kind of have a little more open discussion, a little less structured, like we need to be filling in these blanks in this worksheet. So I might open up that lesson to be a little more, discussion centered, and kind of give them opportunities to hopefully share some excitement about these people.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Do you expect most students to have their do you expect most students to have an idea of who they want to do their project on before this class, or do you expect them to make a decision through the discussion about these list of influential folks?
Yeah, so I'm thinking about this lesson that's like, again, I think I even said in the video in the lesson that it's like kind of the first 4 lessons of the project are sort of thinking through different people. Like we did a reading on Martin Luther King Jr. and the freedom protests that he initiated. That's what we were launching into when the video ended. And then we're reading a few more, like about Malala Yousafzai and a few other influential people, to give them options. So if they're stuck and they're like, I don't know, I don't care about anyone, I know nothing, and be like, all right, pick one of the 4 people we read about. And then, but then that last discussion, I think, is kind of a great chance, because kids get excited and they're like, well, you might have heard of Martin Luther King Jr. I've read so many things about him, but have you heard of, Minerva Mirabal or something? And so generally, in the past, kids, like, it's kind of 50-50. Some kids are like, from day one, they're like, I know I want to do this person because I'm obsessed with them. And I did a project on middle school about them, and I kind of have some confidence. Let's be honest. A lot of kids may do that route. But then a lot of kids throughout even the project in the past, they picked someone day one, and then by day 3 of research, they're like, oh, actually, I want to do this person that may be related to the person I first picked, but they're a little more unknown, or they're more famous. So I think it'll be easier to find research on them. So that's also something that's come out in this project in the past, is that even after they pick their person, it has to be subject to change, because if they pick someone that's like super obscure, sometimes it's a little tricky. And then, yeah, I've even actually had kids do like people from their own lives in the past, but then they have to like create the research and like do interviews with their grandma and like make her have evidence as to why she's an influential individual. But yeah, so that's again back to like, this project is just very open to where the kids want to take it. So try not to limit it too much. I mean, like, if you pick this person day 1, you're stuck with that.
That sounds incredible. I love the idea of allowing student choice even throughout the project. And sorry, I'm getting emails. I'm also particularly interested in having students learn from each other, like you were saying before. Oh, you know that one thing about Martin Luther King, but did you hear about this? And I think that's when some of the most exciting learning does happen, is where they learn from each other. Nice. So it sounds like we're going to build this discussion up in through the next couple of your classes, and I'm really looking forward to it. Do you have an idea about how many lessons from now where you would want to do this master list lesson? Is it 2, 3 lessons from now, 4 lessons from now?
Yeah, it's like, because I want to get through the other 3 influential individual readings we have, and then it's kind of like the list. I don't tell them like, think of the 4 people we just learned about. It's like, list all the influential individuals, and usually it starts with the people we read about in class, and then they springboard into everyone in the world. So yeah, so after we do the readings, I kind of want to give them some people for that list, and then let them add as many as they want.
It sounds incredible. I hope you would invite me back to observe that lesson.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Is there anything that you would like to tell me, or do you feel like there was something missing from this conversation that wasn't said that you felt was really important for me to understand fully what this lesson was about?
No, just that it's gone pretty well in the past, and it's probably one of my favorite projects to do with students. And I just think it's fun because then you hear them using the modal verbs a lot more exaggerated with each other in class, and like, you can borrow my pencil. Yeah, like, So again, I think it's kind of an interesting project that interweaves very big picture stuff like who is changing the world? How did they do that? And then little things like what does the word have, can, must, should do for your sentence? So yeah, so I think it's a good unit. And thank you again for getting that film on camera so I have a sample lesson.
You're welcome. Thank you. And again, what a great connection between your ESL class and our LHS goals. Thank you so much for doing this. I'll talk to you later, Ms. Meyer.
Have a great weekend.
All right.